Okay, so I just built this brand new website, and what I want to be able to do is to track Google conversions and Facebook conversions, because I'm going to be sending traffic to not exactly this landing page, but a similar landing page. And the thing I want to make sure of is that we're actually tracking these conversions so we can send accurate data back to GoHighLevel, and that if someone visits this page and then closes it, but then comes back a few days later and converts, I want to still be able to track that. I want to basically track the last touch. So if they just go straight to the domain, I need to be able to track that. And historically, this has been a little tricky using GoHighLevel's system, okay? Because in this case, we're embedding a calendar. We're not using a high-level funnel for a million different reasons. And so how do we track this? Well, in this video, I'm going to go through all of the steps that you need to do for setting up accurate attribution tracking on your website. And this applies to basically any website that isn't a GoHighLevel funnel. If it's a GoHighLevel funnel, I think it just does it automatically. I mean, obviously, there's not that much information about how this actually works in the back end, but you can hack it to make sure that you get accurate attribution data. So that's what we're going to cover. Now, the first thing that we're doing is we just landed on this page, and you'll see there's nothing in the URL. It's literally just a domain. But what we want to do is if someone were to land on this page with something like a Facebook click ID, that's not how you'd go, Facebook click ID, and let's just say it's, this, I think it's like a number normally, we want to make sure that we're storing this Facebook click ID to our cookie. We're going to cookie them so that when they come back, we can attribute this to the ad. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. And you can see we actually have a cookie banner which shows up there. And so you have to accept cookies. I mean, this is like an EU compliance things. Fuck those fucking losers, if I'm honest. But if you're using cookies, you might as well put this on here. It does make you look quite professional. So that's basically the reasoning there. Let's get into how to store the cookies. So this is a website built on Next.js. If you're doing this on Framer or WordPress or Webflow, wherever, it's going to be broadly similar, but you're going to be doing this in pure JavaScript, or in this case, we're using TypeScript, which is much nicer. Okay, so in our layout page, this applies to every single page on the website. We have this attribution store function, and all we're doing is we're grabbing the search parameters. So in pure JavaScript, this would be like const params equals window dot location dot search, and that would give you the search params, right? That's in pure JavaScript, but we're using Next.js, so we can use this nice use search params. Then we're also using use effect. You would want to have probably a some sort of function that reruns to make sure that you have an actual search parameter that you're running on the client. And you're going to get their Facebook click ID, their Google click ID, gbraid, wbraid, whatever the fuck those are, honestly. And you're going to store that, okay? And so when we're storing it, basically all we're doing is we're setting the cookie to a stringified version of our data, and our cookie name is just attribution data, okay? And we're storing it for 30 days. And what this does is we're also checking, we're making sure that we're storing actual like paid traffic parameters. And then we're also checking, so what this basically does is it overwrites the old cookie, which is really nice because in this case, if we're getting a click on Facebook and then someone, sees an ad on Google and decides that they want to, click on that ad basically, then we want to attribute that last click to Google. So this cookie right here is only tracking the last touch. You could do first touch if you really wanted to. I personally like last touch. And so this is going to be overwritten every time we get a new set of paid ad parameters, right? So that's the first step. And so what you need to do is basically add some custom code on your website that uses JavaScript, just pulls these out of the URL, and then sets these as cookies. And so if we go to our browser tools and then application and cookies, we can see our attribution data cookie right here, which has our Facebook click ID and the value, and it's been URL encoded. And so this is what it looks like decoded, which is just JSON. So that is how we've stored our cookie. And that means if we close the tab, if we come back later, this Facebook click ID is not going to be in the URL, but it will be still in the cookies, at least for 30 days. So that means when they convert next, we can track that. Now I'm going to show you how we track that conversion. And this is actually really interesting because I used to use, let's see if we can find it, I used to use cal.com for booking appointments. And the cool thing about cal.com is that we can define. Okay, and actually, I needed to go into my trash to find it because I deleted it. But for cal.com, we can have a basically event here where we say cal on booking successful. So when that booking is successful, then we can run our own function. So we can basically take that data and then we can report a conversion to PostHog, which is how I'm tracking conversion rates on this page. And then we can also use a Facebook pixel to track that event. And if we're using Google, we could also track that with the Google Tag Manager. And so that makes it really easy. But in HighLevel, using the native calendar that we have down here, there's actually no way to know, I mean, no like elegant way to know exactly when someone finishes booking. That's what I thought, at least, until I found the most ingenious solution you have legitimately ever seen. So let's take a look at that. So if we go to our settings and calendars and we hit edit on this calendar, what we want to do is on forms and payment, we have to set the redirect URL to be /confirmation and then, or whatever your redirect page is, and then we can append the contact ID as a query parameter. This is extremely important because the issue, especially with Google conversion tracking in HighLevel, is Google conversion tracking has to be fired after a form or survey. I believe just those two things can actually fire a Google conversion event. And this is because that Facebook click ID comes straight out of the form. But if we're reporting this through a calendar, we need, and especially if you're using like the default calendar form, you're not going to have that submission as a trigger. You're going to have basically booking confirmed. And so what we want to do is we want to have that Facebook click ID or that Google click ID and tie that back to our contact within HighLevel. So this is the big unlock, because this means when someone actually books an appointment on our website, we can tie that conversion back to a specific contact on our website. So let me show you how this works. So once we book, we're going to get redirected to this URL, and I'm going to show you. So if we go back to the website and we go ahead and book, so let's choose a time and I confirm. And so if we hit schedule a call, this is going to take probably 2 to 3 years, and then it's going to redirect us to this page where we have $contact equals contact ID. This is exactly what we need to be able to tie this event back to HighLevel. And now I'm going to show you how that actually works. So this is our confirmation page right here. So we basically have some text, and then we have our conversion success event. And so the way this works is you're going to define an async function within your page. And so this is basically going to use custom code. And the way I do it is I make sure to check if we have a contact ID in the URL parameters. We're only going to report the event if we have a contact in the URL parameters. If we do, then we're gonna, I mean, this is just to make sure we're not like reprocessing events. So you can use like, you could probably like try setting another URL parameter or something after you process it. But I have our Facebook pixel. So in this case, we're just using like a nice SDK, but you could use, you know, whatever you want, or just use it in pure JavaScript. And so now the first thing that we're going to use is actually calling HighLevel to report this conversion. And so let me show you how that works. So if I go back to our workflows, then I have this workflow right here called demo call conversions. And this uses an inbound webhook, and we can see this most recent request. We can actually see the contact ID that got passed and the Facebook click ID that got passed, because that was pulled straight from our cookies, right? So where is it? And this is actually, yeah. So we're doing get attribution, which is a helper function that we have back here. We're returning that. And then we have our contact ID that gets passed and our Facebook click ID. And so what we're doing is we're finding a contact based on that contact ID. Again, this is really important. This allows us to basically route that event on the client back to our server, which is our HighLevel workflow. And so then we can store this attribution data. So we can put this, we can store the, I put an M in front of all these, like manual Facebook click ID, manual Google click ID, and then MG braid, MW braid. And so we can store this to the custom fields, and we can run our Facebook pixel event conversion and our Google conversion. And the important thing here is that we use custom mapping, because this allows the Facebook click ID to just be whatever we set it, and so we can actually control which click ID that we're using. Same thing for Google, we're using the one from the cookies to actually report this event. And so if we go to the execution logs, I want to double check something. Store attribution, I was seeing that this wasn't, I saw something, a post about this not working, but seems to work. So yeah, we can basically store that attribution. And now we can also use this later on to report back to Facebook when this person purchases, when this person, you know, starts a subscription, or when they, I don't know, whatever. You could literally do anything. You could just report that using the click ID that you have stored here. And now you actually have control over which events are stored. And so in this case, as you can see, we have our function to call the webhook. So we have our webhook URL, and then we have basically a payload here, which is what we're sending. And then we have just a fetch request. So you should be able to do this in the browser. You're just going to do webhook URL and then stringify the body. Make sure you have content type application JSON, and that can run on the client. You don't have to worry about cores. And then we're also using post-hog conversion, because I like post-hog for conversion tracking. And so this is automatically going to track our event in post-hog so that we can see the conversion rate. We're also firing a Facebook pixel and then firing a Google Ads conversion. And the benefit of doing this is that we're firing a Facebook pixel event, a Google event on the client, and then also on the server. And so this also adds redundancy, because because ad trackers in the browser can block these client-side conversion events. And I mean, there could be like any number of things that can fuck this up for you. And so when we report them on the client, that's more accurate, because we get like a unique browser fingerprint, and we also get like an IP address. And so we have a bunch of other data that we can use to attribute basically that conversion. But when we report it on the server, we know 100% that that's actually going to go through and not going to get blocked. So we report it on both the client and the server for redundancy. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. I mean, I know it looks complicated because if you've never coded before, but you just, dude, Claude 4 Opus, it's so smart. It's such a good LLM. It's actually insane. You know how they said a while ago, there's going to be really good models and it's only going to be for rich people? You're damn right. Claude 4 Opus is not cheap. Yeah, but it is extremely effective. So I don't know. I would just ask, you know, basically tell it, hey, I'm building a website in Framer and I need to be able to report attributions. I need to store this cookie and then I need to retrieve it and fire this webhook. Can you write the script? It'll do it one shot. I mean, it's not that hard. So that's how you'll set it up. And yeah, that's really all there is to this conversion tracking system. And in my case, of course, we have like a nice button that kind of shows a loading symbol, because I want them to like stay on this page while we track the conversion. And then I believe I also have a pop-up that says like conversion tracked. Like, thanks, now we got your data, you know. But yeah, that's really all there's to it. So yeah,